All right, so assuming you guys never did a alignment, a redneck alignment, let's show you a quick, easy way to do it. Let's say you did some work on your front end like I did. Assume your rears are right. I'm confident my rears are right. I've replaced the rear end. I've shimmed it. Everything's fine on the rear end. Car drives straight. Launch is good. But assuming your rear's fine, I'm not even going to cover that right now. Let's do a front end alignment real quick. You can do this two ways. You can have the string go all the way around the car with two jack stands on the front, and it doesn't matter if your back end wheels stick out like mine or not. The key is to have your jack stand touching that, and you want to center this with the center of the front tire. So I have 26-inch front tires and 28-inch back tires, so that's why it's 2 inches off center in the back. But that doesn't matter as much as this right here. So you move your front jack until it's barely touching the tip of this sidewall and touching that sidewall. If you have raised letters, be careful, because ones or any kind of words that are raised on one side that aren't on the other, that'll throw you off. So make sure it's touching the same part of the sidewall, a flat side without any kind of words or anything. And once you get that to barely touch the side of this side, the forward side, now you can begin the work on the front end. The next thing you do is get your steering wheel straight. Got to have that straight. Now, then you measure the distance here with a precision. It doesn't have to be precision, because even if it's off, the key is that it's accurate on both sides. Again, you don't want a raised letter on this side and none on the other side, or it's going to throw you off. You need a flat area of the tire. You measure the distance between the edge of the string to this side. You measure the distance between the edge of the string on that side. My caster, I have 1/8 inch less on that side. So what's happening is it's moved the tire back. So I have a smaller gap here and a bigger gap over there. We're going to take that, even out the shims, so it'll move the tire forward a little bit. That will also change everything. Do your caster first, do your camber second. Camber is this way, and that's an even amount of shims on your upper control arm. An uneven amount of shims is your caster, which brings the tire this way, like this. So if you remove a bunch of shims on one side and not on the other, it's going to move the entire tire forward or backwards. That's your caster. Your camber is this way or that way, and that is even amounts of shims this way or that way. You add them, will give you positive camber. You remove them, will give you negative camber. Okay? Because what you're doing is that control arm, if you remove them, it moves the control arm back, which tilts your tire this way. So you end up with, positive camber. And your specs for your car might be negative camber. So, by 1/8 of an inch or 1/16 or whatever. You get the specs for your car, then you adjust the camber to be in those specs, and you can do that with a bubble level. But the simplest way to do it is a string on a weight dangling off of this side, and when you know, that gap between there and there will give you that. Usually it's a negative camber, so it's a little bit, tiny bit like this, right? And so you'll be touching down there, and then you'll have the gap up here. So you'll move this out until the string has that gap that you're looking for up here or down there, depending on the specs of the car. I don't know your car, but for my car, I think it's 1/16 of an inch negative camber. Anyway, now you're ready. You've done those two. Now it's time to do the toe in. And the toe in is on your tie rods. And this is where your steering wheel, you don't want to move it. You want to, if it's way off because you replaced all your trailing arms, like I did, or I mean control arms, then you need to first get your tie rods all kind of in the same area, regardless of where this ends up. That way you have the same amount of movement on both sides. Don't try to adjust one tire and get it all right and then go to the next tire and get it all right. You want to do a little on both sides. So let's say one tire is almost right and the other one is, like in my case, it's towed out. So we got a shorter distance over here, so the tire is sitting like this. Now on the other side, the tire is also sitting like this. So the car's like going down the road like this. It's bad. Well, anyway, it's pulling. So I need to pull this in, and so you're going to turn the tie rod to push this entire tire this way. But what you want to do is measure both sides first. That way you'll know, okay, well, I need to move this one more than that one. And then do a little bit until that all lines up with the steering wheel straight, and you got whatever the spec is for your car, 1/16 of an inch toe in, where this has got a little bit bigger gap than this side. And if you measure from the center, and you'll have to, we're going to even out the shims, and that will move this gap. It'll caster it a little bit that way, and that alone will help. And then we're going to do another measurement. This is the 2 jack method. We got one jack on the front and another jack on the front. And as you can tell on this side, and the car pulls to the right a little bit, we got 2 1/4 over here, and quite a bit toe out going on here on this side. So also make sure that this is, you know, the same on both sides of the tires. So also make sure there's no tension. You just want that barely to touch on both sides the same way. Now we got a major toe in action going in over here. So almost, yeah, 2 1/4 to a crap load of toe in. So we got toe in on one side, big time, and toe out on the other side. We got the same issue with caster going on, so we're going to fix the caster first by evening out the shims. Here we got 3/8 on this side and 2 1/16 on this side on both sides. So we're going to put, I'll probably put an 1/8 here and do my because it's going to do 2 things. It's going to fix my caster first, so I don't have to do it twice. I mean, my camber and my caster all in the same shebang. By moving this out, it will give me the camber that I need. It'll also fix that caster issue. Then we'll remeasure. Then we'll start adjusting tie rods. As you do things, now for drag racing applications, what I'm going to be doing is not what you would do for a pure street car. Now this car does double duty, so I'm going to be splitting the differences, because as the car is under a load, the front end will lift. I want my caster or my camber to be 0 at ride height, because it will go negative when, it'll go positive when I lift. So, well, actually, I want it to be flat, as much surface of the tire as possible while I'm under load. The rake of the car matters. All this stuff matters. Kevin Wilson is a great, has some really good videos that explains this. I'm going to show right after this video, at the end of the video, I'm going to add what the Corvette stock settings are. Anyway, a couple of things that are different about my car than a stock car, besides the tubular control arms, is I got this spreader bar here. So before I make my adjustments, one of the things I have to do is unload that. All right. So when the car lifts in a drag racing application, if I did not have that, there would be more flexing occurring. Okay. So first thing I'm going to do is caster, then camber, kind of together because they're both the same shims. And like I said, right now I have this thing set up the way it was with the old OEM control arms. I got 3/8 on one side and 2 1/8 and a 1/16 on the other side, which is tilting the entire upper control arm this way, which equates to this gap that I've talked about before. But it's more than that. Think of caster as, okay, if you had a mountain bike, the tire spokes are like this, right? Well, you wouldn't want to let go of a wheel on a mountain bike going downhill, because there's not going to be any, it's not going to stay straight as a touring bike, right? So you get a touring bike, it sits like this. So caster affects your spindle relationship. Okay, so if you have it positive and it's like this, then the car will track better without much resistance on your steering, kind of like a touring bike would. You know, you could let go of the wheel and it'll stay going straight, but a mountain bike isn't. You know, it's for quick turning. It'll turn quick. Well, we're not an autocross car, so we're going to be adjusting this a little bit more that way by evening out my shims. So we're going to go with 0, 0, 0, 0, everything 0. Probably on the toe end too. But in a street application, I'll probably do a little bit of toe in. It'll be towed in just a hair. It won't be stock toe in, but just a hair. Anyway, long-winded video. This is part 2 of 3. Part 3, I'm probably going to go live and actually do the work as I do it, the best I can, and then make version 3, and then I'll create a deal on TikTok and YouTube where I'll chain them together so you can watch all 3. But I'm going to be talking about it in both senses of this is a race car and it's a street car. But keep in mind, every car has its own settings. You need to figure it out for yourself. Depending on what kind of front end you have, if you're racing it, you may lift and go negative camber. You may lift and go positive camber. depending on your arms and what you have set up, and whether or not you have solid bushings like mine, or whether or not you have rubber bushings, all this matters. And I don't want to tell anybody to do any one thing, because at 140 miles an hour on a racetrack, you do not want things to go south. So this is on me. Whatever I do to my car is on me. If I break it, if I kill myself, that's my problem. It's up to you to figure out what's right for your car. But anyway, this will get you right. This will get this car to track really good with the string method. Now you can go get it all digital. Unfortunately, with classic car, it's hard to find somebody that really knows how to do a good alignment. Really hard.
Be something that people tend to forget about. They'll set the front end up, they'll install their shocks and their springs, whether they're running double adjustable shocks or single adjustable or 90-10s or 70-30s, whatever. And people tend to forget about how critical the front end is on the drag car. Let's face it, if you lose your steering at 120 or 130 miles an hour, things are not going to end well. And if you don't understand these settings in relation to your chassis under load going down the track, then it's very conceivable that you're going to have some of these.
Okay, Redneck Alignment Part 3, final part. Alright, so most of you guys ain't going to have a spreader bar, but you'll notice there's a crap load of shims on that side and not on that side. When you have a 50-year-old car that's been in a few bumps and bruises, well, that's going to happen sometimes. Anyway, we got our camber right. Now we just did the final toe in. We'll take it for a drive and see how good it is here in a minute. And we went with real close to nada, so it's right on the edge of 2 on the inside. And on this side, just a hair over 2, which is OEM is 1/32 of an inch. I'm going to be drag racing, so I'm shooting closer to 0, but that's good enough. It's kind of weird with the skinnies, though. Alright, I'll come. I think it's been a couple years since this was even, so that's nice. So far, so good. I like it. That was nice, and it drove really good, even under load. Under load especially, it drove good. Man, this thing feels good. She tracked really, really good. Oh yeah, I like it a lot. Got my dude. Look, Ma, no hands. Yeah, I don't know if I like power steering anymore. This is so easy, I don't like it. I think I want to go back to no power steering. I need to get a rack and pinion set up. I think I might want to do a little bit more caster